and I know that you chosen route. You took us out of purpose. You gave us manna to feed us. You gave us appointed times like feast days out the year just to meet us. You gave us elders, imams, wise, cancellations to teach us. You gave us high heavenly places, shine just to see us. Curses, pulled us out from church. We your sons and daughters, I'll be at your kings and queens, your son, be harmless and wise and serve. Put the immaturity down. One can be you perfect. For your name's sake. I wish I gave them a time to finish the race. Understand the sign. Be not dismayed. Hands in the air. Let your kingdom say.
How much deeper does it go? This rabbit hole. Anybody got a clue? Anybody know? Another day, another battle. Licking my wounds, I was beaten by my rivals. Even in truth, it's like a struggle for survival. Gotta stay true, cause I know the kingdom's ours. This is why I got goals. Ask me how do I know that the vision is show? Cause I read it out the Bible. Gotta learn to read the signs. I promise in time, and you can read between the lines. Just read the signs, the way is clear every time. The verses of scriptures, seeking you can find. Just read the signs. This is the moment, feel my vibe. It's harder to speak, that's why I break it down and rhyme, so you can rise. So go and open up your eyes for your mind. I remind you, gotta read the signs. Wake up on it and I pray. Thank the Lord another day. Will I live to see today, or just end up in the grave? Am I falling? Catch myself tracing my steps. Father gave me this breath. Holy Spirit, hear you calling. Planning for G's, but I was fired from my workplace. Got a degree. I thought of plotting in the worst way. Struggle and strive. In my 94 rise, in my demise, you can see the pain. Look in my eyes. In my search of currency, find a way to survive. Got a sense of urgency. Had to seek the Most High. Read my Bible, know my ammo. At Diablo, count my cash, but I didn't need to buy a condo. Even life still is hard living in Toronto. Watching the news, I see the truth when I'm in Scarborough. Reading my cards, got me fully involved. Facing the odds with a good Lord, save me from the fall. You gotta learn to read the signs. I promise in time, and you can read between the lines. Just read the signs, the way is clear every time. The verses of scriptures, seeking you can find. Just read the signs, this is the moment, feel my vibe. It's harder to speak, that's why I break it down and rhyme, so you can rise. So go and open up your eyes for your mind. I remind you, you gotta read the signs. You gotta learn to read the signs. I promise in time, and you can read between the lines. Just read the signs, the way is clear time. The verses and scriptures, anything you can find. Just read the signs. This is the moment, feel my vibe. As hard as this beat, that's why I break it down and rhyme, so you can rise. So go and open up your eyes for your mind. I really gotta read the signs. Read the signs. Read the signs, I know you hear me. Hey, read the signs. Read the signs, can you feel me? Hey, read the signs. Gotta learn to take it easy. Hey, read the signs. Gotta read the signs.
Can't help with music. Yeah. Story to tell. Basement boys. I'ma give me the words though.
They laid this to me.
My brother say that he prayed for me. Thank him so much. Thank him. It be the small things that's building me up. It's building me up. Abba gave me another day. Your brother's enough. Your brother's enough. Beating the obstacles that be tripping us up. Don't stop us. No. Family feeling the same way. I be helping them maintain. Yahuah building our mind frame. Stuck on this path I can't change. Sunny days come out the rain. Faith and prayer, it heals pains. I'm pushing forward just like a train. God in my house, that's my lane.
Yahuah, he picked me up out the dust, straight up out of the sand, made me with his hand. Ain't no way that I'm ever gonna switch it up. I'm just trying to get close and stick to the plan. That Yahuah plan, and I'm getting right to it as soon as I'm up. Say me your prayer, then I grab me the book and I flip through the scripts. Keep me one for the clutch, keep me one in the tuck, always ready to bust. Yahuah smoke, always on ready to puff. Living water, always filling my cup and I'm sipping it up. I just can't get enough, now I can't get enough when the script is the topic. Yahuah said get him, I already got him. Drop to my knees and I send up my problems, I praises go up to the Heavenly Father. My brother said that he prayed for me. I needed that, bruh. I just see all the signs that the rain coming. I'm just bleeding the blood, blood of Yahushua, King of the chosen. Trying to walk out everything that he showed me. Trying to live by everything that he told me. I'm whipping the scripts and the kids like it's Toby. Come get a plate. It's good for your heart and it's good for your faith. The things I've been through try to mug up my face, but I keep pushing forward and love every day. Yes, his word is a light in my path. Life ain't no walk in the park. Lean on the scripts, they be lifting me up. I just pray that Yahuah keep building me up.
My brother say that he prayed for me. Thank him so much. Thank him. It be the small things that's building me up. It's building me up. Abba gave me another day. Your brother's enough. Your brother's enough. Beating the obstacles that be tripping us up. Don't stop us. No. Family feeling the same way. I be helping them maintain. Yahuah building our mind frame. Stuck on this path I can't change. Sunny days come out the rain. Faith and prayer, it heals pains. I'm pushing forward just like a train. God in my house, that's my lane. Telling my life, reminiscing. It could be hard, repent for the things that I did, all on the table. Yeah, that's a good start. I'm telling my story, painting the picture, day-to-day grind. Clean up my issues, teaching my family the things that I'm into. Steaming my eye, but God on my mental. He is my core. Bodies are rental, not looking back. Or momentum, people be crying. Scripts be the tissue, water my eyes. Greatness I see through, I'm by my fam. Still like a bee, do you hold my life? Ain't trying to be you, people be lying. Scripts what I stick to, only do prayers. Thinking I wishful, wanna be first. Still like the rent, do some days I hurt. Give a little smile, two brothers be reaching. They know that they foul to live in delusion. Look who around you, I humble myself. Call it that ground proof, took a little fall. Got up around, two people be following, man. I'm trusting that Abba, he holding my hand. I don't know his plan. My brother Wu said he prayed for me. I love him so much, love him. Kelly Yahuah sent the beat. Yahuah touch, that touch. Yahuah, that's my bro. Came in the clutch, in the clutch. Once y'all hit record, then we sending it up. My brother say that he prayed for me. Thank him so much, thank him. It be the small things that's building me up. It's building me up. Abba gave me another day. Your brother's enough. Your brother's enough. Beating the obstacles that be tripping us up. Don't stop us. No. Family feeling the same way. I be helping them maintain Yahuah, building our mind frame. Stuck on this path, I can't change. Sunny days come out the rain. Faith and prayer, it heals pains. I'm pushing forward just like a train. God in my house, that's my lane.
Proverb of Malak. Dear Heavenly Father. Hey, Anzo, turn up on the ears. She won't be a good girl. She won't be a good girl. Beautiful life, mother and wife. She not in the strife. She won't be a good girl. Working on being her best. Avoid from giving them stress. She wanna be better than that. She won't be a good girl. Before he go to work, she asking stuff that got him laughing. Honest clothes and made him breakfast. She won't be a good girl. Support, she giving him that. Like to make sure he relax. Massaging his head to the neck. Just cause she a wife, that's not the part that make her good. Living by the morals, do exactly what she should. She be so submissive, tell her once it's understood. Handle cooking and be cleaning, that's what have her feeling good. Turn nothing into something, take it a whole nother level. Whatever I did, he pitching. Give him kid, she give him her heart, she give him a it. Her husband trust her, she would never cheat, that's not even a fit. Like what pump behind your chest, her love it come from out of here. If you lead, she gon' follow after you, but not your slave. And her hands, they was made to prosper, she got it made. If her friends like to run and gossip, she stay away. Cause her loyalty don't go to blind people seeing hate. She gon' cherish what she nourished from the home to the kids. What it is, taking care of biz, she gon' get it dead like a cage. You be her protector, she gon' be your rib. She gon' honor you like you a king every day you live. She gon' be a good girl. Beautiful life, mother and wife. She not in the strife. She gon' be a good girl. Working on being her best. Avoid from giving them stress. She wanna be better than that. She wanna be a good girl. Before he go to work, she asking stuff that got him laughing. Honest clothes and made him breakfast. She wanna be a good girl. Support, she giving him that. Like to make sure he relax. Massaging his head to the neck. She wanna be a good girl.
My biggest move right now is trying to change as many minds that look like us back into the Afrocentric mindset opposed to the Eurocentric mindset. We're so trained and it's so embedded to have that Eurocentric mindset that worry about myself, worry about me, worry about mine, worry about mine. I'm not going to help nobody else who look like me build up when everybody else do it but us. When you made over $100 million in your career, right? Is 105 going to change? 110 going to change your lifestyle? Realistically. You know how many people you can change lifestyle with $10 million in our hood? In our communities? We were in the lockout. We were in not the lockout, but we were in the bubble. George Floyd happens. That's right. We stopped playing. We're in there. We're gonna ask the owners for it. We're gonna ask the owners for it. Stop asking them for shit. What are we asking them for? I went down the line. No bullshit. And you can show, you can ask these dudes if not. I got Paul George sitting right here. I got DeMar DeRozan sitting right here. I got Russell Westbrook sitting right here. I'm literally sitting next to all of these dudes who are LA guys. I'm like, bro, I'm not counting your chips, but everybody else is. So you make 200, you make 200, you make 175, you make 150, you make 180. Why don't y'all have your own gym? Why we gotta go to UCLA to work out in LA every time? Y'all all come from the exact same community. You want to inspire kids that look like you. All it takes is 5 of them. 5. 250, 250, 250, 250, 250. What bank gonna turn us down? We about to build this whole shit out for our community. We're gonna build gyms, rec centers, start leagues, and all that. Who's gonna stop us? We got the money. We don't have the mindset.
Our mindset, we'd rather go throw $60,000 in the club, in the strip club. Go throw $60,000 and go feed 2,500 people in the hood.
Going out, because I had an epiphany on my birthday this year. I went out on my birthday and I spent like $10,000 in the club. I'm not joking. On my, drinks, went like 4 clubs, drinking, partying. So the next morning I woke up, it's not the money really. But I just thought that where did this 10,000 go? This $10,000 I just spent buying champagne, at least 8,000 of it has gone to France. So this is, just for alcohol alone, in a week in Nigeria, we send millions of dollars out of our economy to empower foreigners. Just because we see it on TV and we believe that's luxury, that's how we must live. That's the way to... that morning I went to change my Facebook profile. You have to put about yourself. I put really fun, because everybody's idea of fun is to go out and get wasted. So I'm not going out again. So I'm really fun.
Think about it. I've done it. I can't. Oh man, I'm a hypocrite. I've done this myself. I've thrown money in the club, literally, blindlessly, aimlessly, drunk, at a ball, and now I sit back like I'm a stupid ass. I could have fed my whole community 10 times over with the money. I would just wait on the bus.
Right.
Because I'm so wrapped into me. I got that Eurocentric mindset. I need this designer jacket. I need these jeans. I need this book bag. I need to be looking like this because the vets got this. I'm pushing this car.
As black people, our music cannot be about these things. It's just ridiculous. To come from a continent where 90 people are living in poverty and you're talking about your Benz. Come on, man. Come on. Because music, we cannot use our music to oppress our people. Our music cannot be, young people should listen to music and it should make them feel like, yeah, let me get up and be positive. Let me get up and make things happen. Not listen to music and then you're like, oh man, I'm a loser. Look at what this guy has. I don't have anything. Like he can take my girlfriend. No, man, come on. This is not what we should be doing to the minds of young people. This is what perpetuates the corruption in Africa. Our musical culture. That's why Fela was attacked so much by even his fellow musicians who saw that, aligning themselves with the elites will give them shows in their parties. They'll be making their little 10 million naira a week.
So I'm putting people, young brothers who look like me, in a worse situation.
Because they looking up to you.
They look up to me. So when they think, this is cool, this is what they said he did this and that, he did this, he threw soup on the coach, whatever, they think that is cool. Look at what we glorify. Strip club, getting high, setting people up, killing people. Like, look at what we glorify. They put millions and millions of dollars into this. Record labels put billions of dollars into this and sell. And we still get raped off of entertainment.
Right. So, this is the why behind your movement right now?
100%.
So it's strategic.
Very. For me, I look at Mike. He got his own golf course. I've never played it, but a lot of, from what I hear about it, it's very us over there. When you listen to the stories about him going to certain places, as Michael Jordan, and white men used to be like, can't play here. This is Michael Jordan. It ain't about that no more. It ain't about the fame. It ain't about how much money you got. It's what you're doing for your people. Because they got golf clubs, country clubs, banks, everything for them. And they let you know it's not for you. We didn't build this for you. Rolex, Timberland, all Gucci, Louis, all these that we wear, they tell me that we didn't make this for you.
Right.
And we still spend the most collectively on all of that. Instead of putting it into, you got your, what I asked you about when you come from the bathroom.
He asked me what I was doing with my clothing brand and what we trying to do, financial literacy for the collegiate kids.
Why would I go spend $50,000 in Gucci? I could go spend $50,000 on him and we can really do it.
Damn life.
Facts.
My shoes are made by a Nigerian guy, and they're the most expensive things that I'm wearing right now. So I really want us to get to that point of consciousness where we realize that we can't waste our wealth on luxury and consumerism.
That's from Prada, Gucci, Dior, these bags from Adidas, and before I go, all these Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, Chanel, Ralph Lauren, Versace. They might appear good, but every time you buy them, you're weakening your economy and strengthening the economies of these brands, whichever country they're coming from, whether it's Europe or the US. When we support our own products, the quality might not be as good, but that's the sacrifice that we have to make and give our people a chance to improve the quality, because to improve the quality, you have to work. So every time you make a mistake, you become better. The next piece that you produce will be better. Quality will keep improving as long as we support our markets. Those are some of the things that we have to look at. And I have talked, extensively about, for instance, the African sandals. I showed, African sandals versus Gucci sandals, which Gucci sandals are being sold for $400, whereas the African sandals are sold for less than $5. So if we make a conscious decision to buy the African sandals and leave the Gucci sandals for whoever, we shall see the benefit, and it will not take long for us to see the benefits of those decisions.
Us as motherland people is that we do not think as motherland people. We think first as Europeans, then we think as Nigerians before we think as Africans. And by the time we start thinking as Africans, it's too late. People don't understand what Nigeria is. The identity that they're giving you, that Nigeria. The fact that they renamed us is an oppressive act. I'm Yoruba, but the only way I can see the world is as a Nigerian. Meaning that as a Yoruba, I am barred from seeing the world. My true identity is not allowed to see the world. I must carry my Nigerian passport, bear my Nigerian identity as a sanctioned savage. This savage has been civilized from Yoruba to Nigeria. Now we are going to see the world. Be who you are, speak your English. We are living in an open air concentration camp. So if young African people are chasing the American dream, there's something seriously wrong with their psyche. There's something seriously wrong with Africans trying to acquire the American dream. Our dream should be Africa. Our dream should be a better Africa. And a better Africa is an Africa filled with consumers. A better Africa is an Africa filled with community-orientated young people. That is what we need. Africa should be young people in Africa should concentrate on our suffering children, hungry children, our suffering women, the victims of oppression, the victims of corruption, especially we that have the means.
Please take me back. Please take me back to my city. Please take me back to the land where I'm from. Please take me back to my city. Why did I leave? Why did I run? Please take me back to my city. Please take me back to the land where I'm from. Please take me back to my city. Why did I leave? Why did I run?
Oh, I be Yahuah, don't forsake us. I know we broke the covenant and I promise. So I be out, we call it home. We pray that you pick the phone. We got something to tell you about our traumas. God, can you bring us home? 400 years, yeah, it's been so long. Being in bond in a strange land, trying to keep shalom. Seeing and feeling all these problems supposed to make us strong. Yeah, forgive us for our sins, I know we done you wrong. I be out, remember the covenant, the words you spoke. Giving us over to the heathen in the world we chose. You gotta try, see that fire to be pure as gold. Without your presence, we empty, we lonely. You come to find out, you stuff for bread, hungry. Pour our heart out, this ain't where we supposed to be.
Please take me back to my city. Please take me back to the land where I'm from. Please take me back to my city. Why did I leave? Why did I run? Please take me back to my city. Please take me back to the land where I'm from. Please take me back to my city. Why did I leave? Why did I run?
Show me the way, teach me a way.
been so far gone, and I've been gone too long. Trying to find my way back, sick in the ancient past. I won't rest for my soul, eternal life is where it's at. I sacrifice my life, I'm giving back. Beauty for ashes, joy for morning, garment of praise, give me green pastures. Leave me beside the still waters, restore my soul. Let it get honey, your scroll sweeter than a honeycomb. Like honey, yeah, gently rest up on my soul. Make me whole about my soul, stay afloat in me, I go, yeah. I thirst for you with a thirsty land, with no water in. If it's short and living water, I never thirst again. Return us back to Jerusalem, my ancient inheritance. Yahuah, Yahushua.
Why did I leave from a land? Why did I leave from a promised land? Why did I leave from the land? Why did I leave from my promised land? Why did I leave? Now I'm feeling lost. Confused in the faces, I but the sheep went off. For following shepherds that led us off the wall. Was walking in righteousness, now we walking dark. You gave us your word, I bet you get away. And now we will hearken, I but we will obey. Give you more action, I give you more than I say. I give you more action, I give you more than I say. Can you please take me back? Take me back. Please take me back. Please take me back. What did I leave? 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 What did I leave?
Of aligning yourself with the universe. It's a matter of aligning yourself with the ancestors who live through us. They live through us. We are the vessels to which they speak, and they inspire us. Inspired in spirit. So their spirit comes inside of us. So it's simply a matter of us being quiet, listening to them, being obedient, and doing what we are instructed to do. And do it with the knowledge that it's already done. You don't have to worry. You don't have to beg anybody for anything. You do it with the knowledge that it's going to be done. And so ultimately what you wind up doing is reaching into the future, getting everything you want, bringing it into the present moment, and manifesting it. That's how they built these temples. That's how they built these monuments. They were tapped into a power source that we're only dreaming about right now. But when we free ourselves, when we free our minds, when we allow ourselves to disengage from this oppressive system that was created in order to keep us separated from this power, we naturally drift back into that which is our essence.
Money XO, let's get it.
Suave on the track. It's a banger.
I'm coming for you humbly right now, humbly. That you give us the strength, that we give you it all, that we don't fall, give us the strength and keep us cold, give us our minds, be subjected to the Yahushua HaMashiach. I just give you it all, hallelujah.
Yeah, I give you it all. Hamashiach came and died for me. Yahuah, you always ride for me. These ruachs trying to take my temple, talking robbery. Hallelujah, Yahuah, you took that job from me. Yahuah, he forgave me, I was slave. Bow down and face the east when I be praying. As we face your holy, I gotta be strong, courageous like a rock, and also pause and reflect on myself, say Eli. Then watch the gates of the kingdom be a soldier to fire. I pray Yahushua listen daily when I bow to Shekinah. I pray I don't fall. So as I carry my stake, I feel it getting hard. Yahushua said, sell your garments and go buy a sword. He said the signs of the prophets finna head to war. And be that mighty man prevailing like big Agabor. So give me that ruach HaKodesh in a flame for a spark. Also hammer the salvation and cast these thoughts. Cause these demons on my path. trying to guide my walk. We almost set the end, we can't give it come up short. Move that pride, that's the way to sin. Peter looking around and almost died cause he wasn't focusing. Stake on my back, even though it's painful, I got it pressed in. Adonai Yahuah on my chest cause that's who I represent. I hope I don't fall. Predestined from the wound I've been chose. Rebuke me, I correct me when I'm wrong. Don't let me fall, have mercy on my soul. Yeah, I give you it all. Hamashiach came and died for me. Yahuah, you always ride for me. This Ruach trying to take my temple, talking robbery. Hallelujah, Yahuah, you took this time from me. Yahuah, you forgave me, I was slave. I down to faith these when I be praying. As we face your holy. I pray I don't go hard now. Back against the wall now. Pray that I don't fall down. I pray I don't fall. The twins never gave up on me, and when y'all lived across the street, y'all always put up on me. Ain't no telling where I be if y'all hadn't stuck with me every day. We didn't talk, but y'all always remain brothers to me. Saw you at Walmart, I was shocked. You was with Joey Shot, think you was prepping for Shabbat. But you ain't let that stop. You showed me I have bought for show. Seeds was planted from these incidents, and now look how they grow. All praise to Yahuah for moving on your heart to guide me to Yahushua. Would have never made it this far. Nigga Yahoo, definitely one that I can trust. Them days you checked about me now. Look at the both of us. Making songs for y'all. Can't say Torah enough. I needed all that love. It was definitely a must. I would never get the role that y'all all have paid. Y'all truly let a match and still burn it to this day. Y'all really changed my name. Forget the path I came. Had to die to myself. Keep yerking on the rain. Hamashiach came and died for me. Yahuah, you always ride for me. These ruachs trying to take my temple, talking robbery. Hallelujah, Yahuah, you took that side from me. Yahuah, he forgave me, I was slave. Bow down and face these when I be praying. As we face your holy, I pray I don't fall. Bow down and face these when I be praying. As we face your holy land.
One of the greatest, most significant times, you know. And in the Bible it said 400 years it said people will be in bondage in a country that you would be strangers in for 400 years, and this is 401. 1619. That's when slavery started, 1619. So, here we are in 2020, and all going on. I happen to be like, I feel like this is ordained, what I mean? I think it's the fulfillment of a prophecy. And everybody's saying, yo, we're at war and we're unprepared. We don't have the ammunition. We don't have the preparation. We don't have the strategy. We don't have the leadership. We don't have the, hey, bro, God only gonna fight with one of us. God will only fight with one side of this. And if he fight with us, and guess what? That's all we need.
You are now listening to more than music.
Race for my love, race for my love. Yeah, I'm feeling that right there. Race for my love, zone. Yeah, turn me a little bit. I feel everything, boy. Promise you won't let me go. Winning the race for my soul. Devil think you fast in this brand new race car. God can't do earn hard and this race for my love. Know you gon' win every time. Promise you won't let me go. Winning the race for my soul. Devil think you fast in this brand new race car. God came through, earn hard in the pit. Race for my love. Know you gon' win every time. Know you gon' win every time. I'ma put that on my life. I'ma put that on my life. Devil be whipping, I shot it this time. He got a flat and then crash in the fire. He wanna see my demise. I put that thing in the drive. I'm in the passenger riding with Christ. Everything changed when I learned about the truth. You know that my life is better with you. You hold me down when I'm acting a fool. Hop in the car and I'm ready to zoom. Like, vroom, 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 vroom. Leaving the devil in smoke. Yo, 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 yo. Know that you holding me close. Oh, oh. Promise you won't let me go. I do not wanna be lonely. Oh, oh. You in a race for my life. Nothing I do is enough. You want it all with your blood. Oh, oh. Promise you won't let me go. Winning the race for my soul. Devil thinking fast, this brand new race car. God can't do it, run hard in the race for my love. Know you gon' win every time. Oh, promise you won't let me go. Winning the race for my soul. Devil thinking fast in this brand new race car. God came through, run hard in the race for my love. Know you gon' win every time.
We use the institutions to accomplish white purpose. The white purpose is to maintain a power position and keep everybody else in a subordinate, powerless kind of position. Now that's the institution's purpose, and that's the way it functions and how it functions. And we got to realize then that everything that the schools teach is designed to fit into that purpose. The schools teach not objective truth, but what the white man wants to project as truth. Now that's from the very kindergarten right straight on through.
For example, what?
Sociology. Sociology is not a science in the sense that it's dealing objectively with the way people live together. It's dealing with the white man's pattern of living together as the norm by which we judge how other people live. If you live like white people live, then you're living the way you are supposed to live. If not, you're either primitive or insane as a people. Psychologically, it's the same thing. Psychology does not deal with any objective kind of discussion or development of how people live or analysis of how people function as individuals, but how does the white man function? If the white man does it this way, then this is the norm by which we judge all other people. If the white man is violent, then actually all people have to be violent to be normal. If you're not violent, obviously there's something wrong with you and you should be in an insane asylum. The whole pattern that's set up as a norm for human behavior by psychologists, the whole library full of it. Psychiatrists, everybody that's dealing with it is dealing with it from a white point of view. So they teach white children, black children and white children, to look through white eyes. From the kindergarten on, the black child is beginning to look at the world and interpret it through white eyes. Everything he is wrong. Everything that exists in his community is wrong. And we ought to declare that white music really is no good, that white psychology is no good. The white man either acts like we do or he's insane. White sociology is no good. The very structure of white society indicates that white people, obviously in social structure, are either insane or they're abnormal. So we have to project then a black psychology, a black sociology, a black music, a black history that takes in the realities and that is essentially sound, as opposed to the mythology that the white man has developed out of his own ignorance, for one thing, out of his non-creativity, because the white man has never created anything. He's stolen things but never created anything. He cannot actually deal with history, because history is a recital of his total failure and his total absence of making any genuine contribution to the world.
Historically astute. The early church did not teach this. This is a post, y'all please bear with me now. And y'all, I know this is heavy, but I would not be a servant of the Most High if I was just purely seeking the approval of man. I love y'all. The Most High y'all knows, but I gotta tell y'all the truth. A lot of these doctrinal tenets, it ain't just Easter, it ain't just Christmas, it's the replacement theology that's fueled by the idea that the historical Yahushua was a divine being in the sense of without the sperm of a male. Y'all got to understand what I'm saying. You have to know that the New Testament was written in Greek. I repeat, the New Testament was written in Greek. Now, the Gospel of Matthew, they say the original gospel was written by Matthew himself in the Hebraic tongue. But y'all, please understand, the work of iniquity has been working for a long time to carefully sculpt out a world religion. Catholic, I already showed y'all, means universal. The Roman Universal Church. This was Constantine, right? The first quote-unquote Christian empire or emperor of Rome, using this vision he had of the cross he saw in the sky, using Christianity to revive the Roman Empire, to bring a renaissance of the white power construct that was falling during his time.
A commonly repeated factoid about Constantine the Great was that he was the first Christian emperor of the Roman Empire. Constantine is well known for his dream-inspired conversion in which a Christian symbol led him to victory in battle. Following that came the Edict of Milan, which made Christianity legal within the Roman Empire. This rule led to the building of some of the most famous churches in the world, including St. Peter's Basilica and the Hagia Sophia. Constantine also, of course, convened and oversaw the First Council of Nicaea, a pivotal moment in Christian history. However, by the time of the council, Constantine hadn't even been baptized. This, despite his professed conversion following his prophetic dream some 13 years prior. Constantine would not, in fact, be baptized until he lay on his deathbed in 337 CE, believing it was best to be forgiven of his sins as emperor all at once. There is actually a great deal of evidence that suggests that for most of his life, Constantine worshipped the sun. The Arch of Constantine, a triumphal monument that stands to this day, was built after his official conversion but bears no symbols of Christianity. It doesn't even have the Cairo symbol to which he attributed his famous victory. Instead, only tributes to the god of the sun can be seen. It's more than likely that Constantine didn't truly care about the theology of the Council of Nicaea. He only sought peace. Even if the Council of Nicaea established the...
So y'all, a lot goes into creating Christianity. Now I'm going to do a brief historical thing. We jumping right back into it. So I'll let you guys know through a variety of sources. Everything I'm giving y'all, I'm giving receipts. In 2nd Esdras, the hidden apocryphal book, we saw that Esau is the end of the world, the way he does things, white supremacy, America, NATO, those descendants, right? Because we know Zepho migrated to Chittim, became ancient Rome, a lot of Edomites that dwelt in the clefts of the rock. A lot of Europeans today are descendants from ancient Esau or ancient Edomites. So we know that that people would have the last ruling empire. We looked at the statue of Daniel, how it shows you the Babylonian or the Gentile rulership summed up in a statue. The beginning with Nebuchadnezzar in ancient Babylon, the Medes and the Persians that came next, the Greeks, which also were Chittim people. We see this in 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, that Alexander the Greek of Macedonia was of Chittim. So that's why you see historically the Greco-Roman Empire, because they were the same people. So you see the ancient Babylonians, the Medes and the Persians, the Greeks are the Greco-Romans going into the Roman Empire. Then the feet, those 10 toes, represent the 10 founding European countries of NATO. It's up to like 27, 28 right now, family. And Ukraine is trying to apply for NATO to be protected from Russia. And that's a whole nother thing. So we see the 10 toes was this iron mixed with clay. The iron legs was Rome. The iron mixed with clay is a new Rome, Constantine. But who and what is Constantine? Constantine was the Roman Empire that made Rome a Christian province. Y'all understand? The Christianized Rome is the last toes, the last ruling element of the statue of Daniel. So that means all these quote-unquote Christian European countries that are fueled by, the Roman Catholic Church, but specifically the doctrine of Christianity is the beast system, is that last ruling people, right? There's a lot that goes into this. When Daniel said this is a beast, Christianity is a beast. Y'all, I have been feeling opposition from spiritual, natural, when I started dealing with this subject of the virgin birth. It is such a hang-up in the minds of our people because deep down inside, family, we do not love ourselves. White Jesus has demasculinated or stripped the sense of pride and confidence in our people, where we look to a nation that cannot save us. Now, we saw this in scripture. Our people have to fight through this brass shackle slave mindset that is all by design of the Christian church. There's a reason why Constantine used Christianity. There's a reason why Rome and that last empire would use this as the great deception. We saw that the Apostle Paul said, because they love them strong delusion. We underestimate the word, y'all. When it says strong delusion, it means strong delusion. The Christianity of today was set up to replace the ancient Judean womb from which the man-child came. Understand, to sever the umbilical cord, if you will, of our people. When you look at the tenets of Christianity, the Roman Council of Nicene faith, when you look at it replacing Passover with Easter, this was a major contentious battle that the Romans had when they came during the first council in 325.
The Arian controversy was the major issue addressed by the First Council of Nicaea. It wasn't the only one. Believe it or not, another big topic discussed by the bishops was determining when Easter took place. At face value, this might seem like a silly topic, but do you know what date Easter is next year? Can you name it without Googling it? You can't. You can't, liar. In the beginning of the faith, the date of Easter had been tied to the Jewish observance of Passover. However, the bishops of Nicaea didn't want their holy day to be beholden to a Jewish holiday because, anti-Semitism. So while the church had originally held Easter on the Sunday nearest Passover, or even on Passover, the new rule was that Easter had to be held on a Sunday and could not be on Passover. So the attendees settled on the most logical solution. Easter would be held each year on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. You're not wrong if you're thinking that that sounds more like some sort of wicked business than Orthodox Christianity, but here we are.
They argued about getting Easter as far away from Passover as they could because they knew historically the early church were Israelites. A lot of y'all said that. Y'all said, well, JB, how you saying that Constantine and Rome hijacked us? We was Christians first. Yes, but the Christianity of the Ebionites, of the Nazarenes, of the Essenes was different than what Constantine adopted. Y'all understand? The early Hebraic Judean believers in Yahushua did not subscribe, I repeat, did not subscribe to a virgin birth. You will not find this. A lot of y'all are using one chapter, Matthew chapter 1, and we're going to break that thing down. I can break that thing down from a historical perspective, from a Israelite cultural perspective, right? Y'all are using Matthew 1 by itself, verses, I believe, 18 through the remainder of the chapter, to substantiate an entire idea of the virgin birth. You will not find this anywhere in Scripture. And I know a lot of y'all say, well, this was talked about in Isaiah 7:14 about a virgin shall give birth. If I look up that, I'm going to show y'all, that word virgin in the Hebrew meant a young maiden. I'm going to put that on the screen. But a lot of y'all go, well, Genesis 3:15 says the seed of the woman. Understand, during that time period, no woman had given birth to a child. This did not happen until post the curse. The whole travail, the whole hard labor, all of that was a process initiated after Adam and Eve. So the Most High is speaking in that cultural element, that the seed of the woman. Yes, every human being is the seed of a woman. This does not refute the sperm of the man. Y'all got to put your think caps on, right? So the early Judean church, the Ebionites, y'all research this stuff for yourself. Don't take my word for it. The gospel of the Ebionites. A lot of them did not even have, I know this is hard for y'all to believe, Matthew 1 past verse 17. The Ebionites, the Essenes, the Nazarenes, they believed in Yahushua as the Mashiach, but they did not get hung up or believe in a virgin immaculate conception. This is a Greco-Roman ideology. The New Testament was written, the New Testament that we have today is based on the Greek manuscripts. I repeat, the New Testament today, and this is a lot, y'all take notes, we going in on this thing. We're going to deal with this virgin birth because I'm telling y'all, it's a hang-up because deep down inside, our people do not believe in our inherent worth. I'm going to deal with that a little bit. I'm going to show you the implications of the virgin birth. Let me go through that. The implications of the virgin birth is, okay, Christ is immaculate. So this means that everything that he did was from a Herculean Zeus demigod perspective. Understand, this in and of itself disenfranchises humanity, or specifically Israel, from trying to live the way he does. It's subtle though. It's subtle. It's deep down in your spirit. Because deep down you can always say, well, you know, that's Christ. You know, he the son of God. You know, the stuff he did, we can't do that stuff. You know, the stuff he did, we can't do that stuff. You know, he walked on water. He did this because he the son of God. You know, that's where grace has come in. You know, we can't. It's subtle. This, y'all got it. Like I said, these were 300 plus bishops and leaders. And I'm going to put that clip up for y'all to show you. Go on Nicaea video. These were leaders that came together to construct a way to adopt the Hebraic culture as the religion of Rome.
The First Council of Nicaea is one of the most significant events in the history of the Christian Church, and it would affect European history for years to come. This is the messed up truth of the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea was the first ecumenical council of the Christian Church. What this means is that bishops from the entire known world of Christianity came together for the first time to discuss major issues affecting faith. At this point in history, the Christian world consisted mostly of Southern Europe, Northern Africa, and the Middle East. Still, that's a lot of bearded dudes in pointy hats. The council was convened in 325 CE by Emperor Constantine the Great, generally regarded as the first Christian Roman emperor. He held the council in the ancient city of Nicaea. While not literally every bishop in the world was actually present, tradition holds that 318 attended, largely representing the eastern portion of the church. Notably absent was Pope Sylvester I, who did at least send a few representatives on his behalf. Constantine called the council together in order to address issues of division within the church. He hoped to reestablish peace religiously, as he had just done politically by defeating his imperial rival Chinius.
So they had to separate the man-child from the woman. This is by design. Because the virgin birth, in and of itself, says, well, if Christ is immaculate, you know, he the son of God, you know, he wasn't even born of the sperm of man, he ain't like us, he ain't like us. This would refute the plan of the Most High, y'all. Y'all got to hear what I'm saying. The Most High intended to make the Messiah in the image of his people to break the curse of Deuteronomy 28. I showed you guys in the Old Testament that an unjust scale is an abomination to the Most High Yah. You had to have equal for equal. When we look at the law of the scapegoat, right? They took two goats, and one is going to get atoned for, and the other one is the scapegoat that they placed the sin of the people by the right hand of the high priest. They confessed all the sin of the people. All of the transgressions of the nation were placed on the scapegoat. They would cut that joker's head off, take the blood and sprinkle it on the other equal goat, and allow the other one to run free. I showed you guys in Hebrews chapter 2 verses 16 through 18. Let's check that out. In Hebrews chapter 2 verse 16 it says, for verily he took not on himself the nature of angels, but he took him on the seed of Abraham. Wherefore, in all things it behooved him to be made like his brethren, like his people, that he might be a merciful and a faithful high priest in the things pertaining to the Most High Yah, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in it that he himself hath suffered being tempted, he is able to have patience and mercy, or succor them that are tempted. All praises. So we see this is a spiritual legalistic thing that had to happen. Christ had to come as that spiritual scapegoat, be made in the image of the people he is redeeming. So he had to be flesh and blood just from a spiritual standpoint. His sperm had to be the way that we were made, so that there would be no excuse for us to not turn back to the Most High. Christ did never intend for his life to become an idol outside of the Gentile rulership. Now, this thing is deep. I recognize that I am battling a transitional spirit. The message I'm preaching is the next age, is the great reset, is our people coming on top. So I'm battling our people thinking in a slave mindset of we're just going to sit back and wait on Christ to come back. We're going to just sit back and wait. That has never been the way our forefathers obtained a good report. Without faith, it's impossible to please the Most High. White Jesus and him being born of a virgin demasculinates the nation of Israel, demasculinates our spirit, right? I'm talking about all of us, male and female. It takes away the fight of the nation. It defangs the canine. This is a tool of slavery to have our people, oh, just wait till you die. Just wait till, things going to get better. We just got to wait. I'm glad I'm going to heaven. Wife Jesus, the entire Christian doctrine, but specifically the virgin birth, all were set up to get our minds to just sit back idly. Understand, Moses cried unto the Most High when he saw the Red Sea. The Most High said, pick your rod up. What you got in your hand? Even when you look at Joshua, when Joshua led them to the promised land, the Most High said, just keep walking. And as soon as their feet touched the brim of the water, then it parted. So now Moses didn't have a book to read. Joshua didn't have other than Moses to read. But you see, the Most High required more out of Joshua. Now, how much more faith is the Father going to require of his people? Why do I bring that up? Virgin birth, Christ being immaculate, is a stumbling block that is subtle. Like y'all said, a little leaven that leavens your entire mindset to sit idly by, and I got to deal with this, and I know it's hard. It's a tough pill to swallow. The virgin birth gets our people in a sense of complacency because we can always defer to Christ. That means there's no purpose of Israel. Because if he's immaculate and the seed that made him is outside of Israel, this is where Christians come and says, well, he wasn't from y'all flesh anyway. He was the sperm that was from the beginning like Adam was. So Israel don't matter. Christ died for everybody, neither Jew nor Greek. You see how it's a stumbling block? It's a snowball effect by design in your mind. But if I tell you, Yahushua was just like you. He was flesh and blood just like you. He was a sperm and an egg just like you. He was tempted just like you. He was hungry just like you. He went to sleep just like you. That he's a black Judean Israelite just like us. But the spirit of the Most High Yah was divine in him, and that's the spirit he gave his people. We don't understand that Peter's shadow healed the people. Y'all gotta hear that Paul, he had a man fall off a balcony, and Paul healed that joker. The power they walked in was not refuted or diminished because they was flesh and blood Israelites. That's what white people, white supremacy teaches us, that there's something wrong with us. I got to deal with it. Y'all got to hear my heart on this thing. The purpose of the virgin birth is to make us different from Mashiach. Oh no, JB, no. It's just to show that he is fully God. I showed y'all in 2nd Esdras that Israel, let's pull it up. In 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 57, it says, and now, oh Yah, behold, these Gentiles, these heathen, these white people, which have always been reputed as nothing. The Most High had nothing to do with the other nations. To this day, he has not changed. Have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. They got us in slavery. They got us thinking like slaves, that we aren't the mightiest nation that ever lived, that we can't get back to Zion. But we, thy people, whom you have called your firstborn. I repeat, your people Israel have you called, O Yah, your firstborn, your only begotten souls. I'm telling y'all, everything that Yahushua is and was and is forever is the epitome of the relationship a father has with his people. Christ being fully Israelite is not something detestable. If his lineage, which is from Joseph, that does not make him less than God. I told you guys about Elisha, how the man was chopping down the tree, swung back, the axe head went into the water, and Elisha said, come here. And the axe iron head swam on the waters, came out of the water, and flew to the end of that brother's axe. Y'all got to hear the power that our people walked in. The 3 Hebrew boys went into a fiery furnace, and the fire couldn't touch them. Daniel went into the lion's den, and the lions couldn't eat him. Hear me. Moses picked up a rod, and SeaWorld happened. Physical aquarium. Dolphins swimming, knowing not to go on the other side. Our people walking on dry land. Hear me. Joshua told the sun, don't move until we get through killing our enemies. Hear me. Elijah resuscitated the boy, called down fire from heaven. Hear me. Our people walked in the power. And I can go through all the prophets. It'll take me the whole video to show you that the Most High said, even though I am he, whose going forth has been of old, from everlasting to everlasting, I can take flesh, a lineage, a family, and I can make myself compatible inside of my people, despite what they've been through, despite their sins. Christianity, the virgin birth, says, no, it was something different about Christ. No, it was something different about Christ. Christ was the Son of God. He wasn't made like we was. But if I tell you he was Joseph's son, Joseph got on top of Mary and had him. Christ was born just like us. Y'all was, oh no, not my Jesus. Because deep down you got an inferiority complex. I'm telling you, white Jesus, virgin birth, Israel not mattering, replacement theology, all of it is a puzzle piece connected to eradicate the black man. You got to hear what I'm saying and to convince us that we're not good enough. No nation operates like that. When you look at the Indian people, they got Buddha or those Asian people. Every other nation having a God in their image. When you look at white people, this is their culture. Now, white people happen to took our history, our historical Judean birthright, and whitewashed it for their culture. Because we know Esau is a robber and a thief from the beginning, that they don't have a culture. But every other people, they have a God in their image. They have a leader like Confucius or somebody that came for the people that's just like them, that inspired them to be as God through that chosen leader. We're the only people that not just don't have a culture. We got a white, European, westernized white man living in our brain. And not just that, they went a step forward. They went a step further. They said, even if you know that he was black historically, even if you know that you're a descendant of him, he was immaculate. You know, he just came like Zeus or something, like Hercules. That's by design, family, to convince us that we can't be the way he was. When we see that's not scripture. Now, let me show something with y'all. No other book in the Bible mentions a virgin birth. Even when you look at Matthew, even the word virgin in the Hebrew, so you have Betula and you have Alma. These two words being young maiden. When you look at Isaiah 7:14, so you only see that word virgin, or that they came together. Before they came together, she was found with child in Matthew 1. But even then, you can't interpret that word as meaning she never had sex. But a lot of our people, right when I said that word, oh, that's dirty, oh, that's filthy. This is a righteous act that goes back to the Most High. We live in Babylon and we think like fornication. We think like wickedness. But this was the way the Most High established a lineage. We see in Matthew chapter 1 that it goes through the lineage of Yahushua paternally. And I already told y'all, the early Christians, the Ebionites, right? When you look at the Nazarenes, when you look at the Essenes, they did not subscribe to a virgin immaculate birth. But we see over time, a Greco manuscript written New Testament came on the scene. Because the original Gospel of Matthew was written in Hebrew. The Gospel of Matthew today is the Greek manuscript. Y'all understand? I know this. Take notes now. So this is where you see Greek words like panthenos, right? That have a Greek connotation into the language. That's why I tell y'all, this stuff is a stumbling block. Because even the name Jesus is a Greek transliteration, not a translation. A translation of his name would be Joshua. A transliteration is the culture of the people translating it, transforming it based on their culture. So they took Yahushua, the Hebraic Messiah, and they converted him to the Greco-Roman Messiah, like Zeus, Hercules, right? So his name, Jesus, or Jesus, gives credence to their culture. So when you look at the Immaculate Conception, it is taking the fact that a young Hebrew young lady had intercourse with a man, Hebrew Judean, and created their Messiah. It translates him to the Messiah, the Zeus, immaculate, Herculean Son of God. It's a transliteration of the concept, because you don't see the Apostle Paul and his letters were written hundreds of years before the Synoptic Gospels. Amy mentioned that again. The Gospels of Paul, the epistles, the letters, were written before the Synoptic Gospels. Time had passed where the Greeks and their culture influenced those writings. I know this is heavy, because you don't see Paul mention this. You don't see Peter mention this. Yes, Shaul calls him the Son of the Most High. But I just showed y'all in 2nd Esdras that Israel was the firstborn. Israel was the only begotten. Israel was the son that Moses said, let his son go. Let Yah's people go. Let his firstborn go, that they may worship him in the wilderness. So this was not estranged outside of Israel. We are the descendants of the Most High, the sons of the Most High, the only begotten nation that he's dealing with of the Most High, his fervent lover. So him being the son of the Most High is the call of every Israelite. And I'm kicking against your mindset that wants to sit back idle and go into the sunken place. Stay with me, family. So Paul is in Immaculate Conception. He would have known more than anybody, because Paul's writings are earlier than the Synoptic Gospels. Even the book of Revelation is written before the book of John. The Apostle John wrote that first. Also, you don't see the Apostle John talk about an Immaculate Conception. You don't see Peter talking about it. You don't see James, because the early followers of Yahushua did not teach he was the Son of the Most High, because he was born in a Zeus style. They were waiting for the anointed Mashiach of the paternal lineage of David. They saw that as the chosen one, the anointed one, the Son of the living God that would lead his people back to Zion, that would deliver them against all their enemies. That did not subtract from his divinity, family. So that let's go deeper into the precepts. So I showed you guys in the last video. Now, first I'm going to set some groundwork. John 7 verse 38 says, "He that believes on me, as the scriptures have said." Now I showed y'all in 1 John chapter 4 verse 3 that any spirit that denies that Yahushua came in the flesh is the spirit of the Antichrist. Any spirit that makes him white, that ain't the way he came on earth. He was a black Judean like the Negroes today are descended. He was a black Judean historically. He came from his father Joseph, because Joseph descended from King David. Now we're going to deal with Mary's lineage, because Mary was the first cousin of Elizabeth. Elizabeth was married to the high priest, which means they were Levites. I got to deal with this. So when they call her Judah, that's consistent with the southern kingdom. Y'all got to notice history now. The southern kingdom was called Judah. Her lineage could have been Levi or Benjamin, and she still be called Judah. But we know that Joseph descended from David. So if Yahushua was the descendant promised Messiah of the loins of David, the king, understand, he had to be descended from Joseph. This was legality. Just like I told y'all, he had to be equal with us. He did not take upon an angelic form. He had to be fully flesh, encounter the fully flesh experience like we do, be tempted like we do, and overcome that thing. That calls Israel higher. That says that, man, if Yahushua could do that, how did he do it? The spirit that was in him, the spirit that he gave to his people, the spirit that I'm speaking in right now. We are not meant to be estranged from our Mashiach. The master and his servant should be equal. Wait, what, JB? Wait, what? No, we ain't supposed to be equal with the master. That gives glory to the master. The purpose of Yahushua was to replicate his life in his people, was his service to be just like him. He said, if you follow me, take up your cross. He said, Peter, come walk out here with me. He meant to replicate his life in a world without end in the children of Israel. Any spirit that teaches that he did not come in the flesh, and I mean Joseph and Mary, is a Antichrist mindset. Y'all are like, no, this can't be. How deep the rabbit hole goes, we may never know. It even infiltrates our minds and what we think that we know. Y'all understand? White Jesus and the virgin birth subconsciously allows us to have a spirit of complacency, idolatry, and slothfulness. Lack of faith, bigotry, sitting back, wanton, all of this comes when you defer to Christ and you swipe the credit card of his grace because you see him as different from you, which that was never the plan of the Most High, because he came to redeem those that were under the law by his life, by his death, and by his ever example of the way he lived. If he came as an angel, y'all hear what I'm saying? We could always say, well, he was different from us, and I done told y'all. So let's go back to these precepts. So I set the groundwork by showing y'all that in Leviticus chapter 15, let's look at that. In Leviticus 15 verse 16 it says, and if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, he or she shall wash his flesh with water and be unclean to the evening. So we see that when you see a man's seed mentioned in the Bible, this is his sperm, right? And a lot of y'all like, okay, we understand that. But we saying the seed of the woman. Women do not produce the seed. They are the soil for the seed of the sperm of the man to be sown into. When you see seed in the Bible, this is a patrilineal statement. So we went into that. Now let's keep going. And the wisdom of Solomon I showed you all. In verse 5, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7, verse 5. It says, for there is no king that had any other beginning. Now what beginning was he talking about? And we review that. He said, in verse 1, I myself also am a mortal man, like everybody else, and the offspring of him that was first made on the earth. Whoa, so he was made just like everybody else. the offspring of him that was first made. Now, a lot of y'all say, well, Adam was immaculate and that kind of thing. You're not seeing the purpose of Yahusha coming. Yahusha had to be made under the law. I showed y'all that in Galatians 4 verse 4. And we segue real quick. Let's go to Galatians. So in Galatians chapter 4 verse 4 it says, but when the fullness of time had come, when the seed had matriculated through the lineage, the Most High Yah sent forth his son, made of a woman made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive adoption as sons. Now let's go back to Leviticus, or go back to Wisdom of Solomon. So I showed you guys in Galatians 4, Yeshua or Yahusha had to come under the law. We see the law is Leviticus. Leviticus 15:16 says if the seed of copulation comes out of a man, he is unclean. It's not saying that the process is dirty. It's saying that he needs to wash himself with water for germs, for health, and that kind of thing. We think of sex and procreation in a negative sense, mainly a westernized phenomenon. In other Eastern and ancient Judean times, this was a sacred act. It was so sacred that they had to wash themselves with water afterward, and the woman had to separate from the husband during her unclean menstruation. After she gave birth to a man child, it was a different length of time versus after a woman child. They had to separate. So now when you look at that come together, we're going to deal with it. So all of this was the law. So we see Christ had to come under that specific law, the way we are created, to be an equal, just scale. He had to be just like us, go through everything that we're presented with, but overcome it, to be able to break the requirement and the penalty that the Most placed on Israel. The Most High wants what he wants, y'all. I got to tell y'all, he wanted our people to keep that Torah. If we did it, somebody had to come and do it. Not an angelic, immaculate Hercules. No, the Most High said, I commanded Israel to do that thing. So it seems impossible to us. Who's going to free us? The chosen Mashiach that was through our lineage, that was raised up in the fullness of time to fulfill the law in himself, being just like us, frees us from the obligation that the Father placed on us. Let's keep looking, y'all. Please stay with me. So in the Wisdom of Solomon, we see that Solomon says, I'm a mortal man, like unto all the offspring of the earth. And in my mother's womb I was fashioned to be flesh, in the time of 10 months, compacted in blood of the seed of man. Let's pause. In his mother's womb is how he starts. So when you see the seed of the woman, that does not refute the man. We know that the woman is actually giving birth. That's why you might just see the seed of the woman. So Genesis 3:15, Christians try to use the seed of the woman. Yeah, the seed of the woman. That does not mean that the sperm was not involved. We see that in Solomon. So he says, compacted in blood of the seed of man, and the pleasure that came with sleep. That was a holy thing, y'all. Solomon was born just like that, getting it in. We saw with Judah that it was a serious dead for not doing right in the bedroom. Because we see that one of Judah's sons did not want to raise up the seed of his brother. This is what you got to know those scriptures. Y'all have to know that scripture to deal with this concept, because there's a lot that goes into it. Men fell dead if they didn't resurrect the seed of their brother that may have been dead or died without having an heir, because the land and their inheritance was tied to the lineage, the families, all of that. So it was a sacred act for Israel to give birth to children. And yes, it was a pleasure with sleep. Yes, we enjoy that thing, but it's holy. And y'all gotta understand. Let's keep reading. And when I was born, I drew in the common air and fell upon the earth, which is of like carbon, natural nature, right? And the first voice that I uttered was crying. And I was nursed in swaddling clothes, and that with cares. For there is no king that had any other beginning of birth. Understand, Adam was not a king. The concept of a king, a figure raised up from his people as a leader of his people, that concept did not exist during the time of Adam. Understand, Solomon is saying no king is born with any other beginning. Stay with me, family. No king that has ever been born. So either the wisdom of Solomon is wrong, or the virgin birth is a misconception. There has to be something, because the scriptures can't conflict. We see no other king came on earth like that. Let's keep going. So I showed you guys the different types of customs during the Judean time. Now let's go to Matthew and just go ahead and set that groundwork, which is the big conception or the misconception. Let's look at Matthew. So in Matthew chapter 1, we see now the birth, in verse 18, the birth of Yahushua HaMashiach was on this manner, was in this fashion. When as his mother Mary, or Miriam in the Hebrew, was betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Now, y'all, it's a lot that goes into this. First, I'm going to set the groundwork. The book of the Gospel of Matthew, this is the Greek translation. So you got to understand, there's a Greek connotation that's going into this. Even the word Jesus Christ is Greek. So I showed you guys the different customs of the Israelites. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 13. Let's look at that. So in Deuteronomy 22, verse 13, it says, if any man takes a wife and goes into her and hates her for any reason, and gives occasions of speech up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman and she was not a maid, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city. So now, y'all, we're dealing with Matthew chapter 1. It was a marriage ceremony. Now, during that time, this lasted weeks. The husband, he's enjoying his wife. They're going into the wedding chamber. But this was a period of weeks where they're coming out and engaging with the people. Everybody was celebrating. They had wine. They were praising the Most High for it. They had a naming ceremony. We see the Israelites in Africa still doing this thing. The 8th-day naming ceremony. All of this was a part of the marriage ceremony where they were coming together. They were consummating the marriage. The woman is being implanted with the seed. She's becoming separated. All of this was a part of the marriage ceremony in ancient Judean times. The consummation was meant for her to give birth to a child to seal the marriage. Y'all got to know what I'm saying. That's why the virginity of the woman meant everything. They kept the tokens of her virginity. They had a towel that kept the hymen blood. All of this lasted multiple weeks. So when we say before they came together, this is before the finality of their consummation of their relationship. She's found with child. Y'all got to hear what's going on. This was a normal custom. Now, a lot of y'all, let's go to verse 19. It says, then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was thinking about putting her away privately. Now, y'all, we got to deal with that. Y'all saying, well, if this was a part of the ceremony that they consummated the marriage, now let's go back to break that thing down. Now, Deuteronomy, I showed you guys. In Deuteronomy, chapter 22, verse 13 through 19, y'all read it, write it down, read it for yourselves. That during this time, the husband had the option of doing away with his wife for whatever reason. Now, this is a patriarchal society back then. I'm not saying that our sisters didn't mean nothing. Y'all don't misconstrue that. Please don't. I got a beautiful black queen, Israelite queen. I'm telling y'all. And I served that one. I'm telling y'all. So don't misconstrue that. But these are Israelite men leading. So during this time period, they had the option of doing away with her if they found something evil, if they really wasn't feeling. I'm telling you, they had that option during this season, during this ceremony. So Joseph had that option. We see that a Greek is writing this because he's almost conveying that Joseph wanted to put her away and that the angel told him not to. Joseph, according to the Hebraic custom, always had that decision. This was not he got her pregnant and now he saw that she was pregnant and wanted to do away with her. No. The Most High showed him and said, that consummation, oh yeah, that's going to be the son of the Most High, right? Don't even think about doing away with it. This your queen right here. This your bride right here. So this is not saying that there was some conflict or he got frustrated with Mary or found that some other dude slept with her or found that she was impregnated and he thought that she was unfaithful. This is a Greek retelling the customs that during the marriage ceremony, the husbands have that opportunity. You can see other Judeans saying, they're probably talking to this Greek writer saying, yeah, during the marriage ceremony, he could have put her away. That's according to our custom. They were doing their thing, and before they consummated or fully ended that marriage ceremony, they consummated that thing. She was found with child. He could have put her away. That's a part of our custom. You can see that a Greek is retelling this in Matthew. I'm not trying to hem y'all up or be a stumbling block to where you're questioning how it was written. You have to know that the Greek is a transliteration of a culture. So this is a Greek secondary source relaying the Judean marriage ceremony. Now let's go deeper into that ceremony. Now I showed you guys in the book of Tobit that when you read Tobit chapter 6 through 8, you see that Tobit was going through the same event with his wife. He had heard certain things about her. He was questioning putting her together or consummating the relationship. Y'all see, Israelite men could think like that. That's why you saw during the time of Hosea that the Most High told him to marry a prostitute that was unfaithful. Because during that marriage ceremony, by the law, he could have put her away. And the Most High said, no, I want you to stay with her. So y'all got to understand. Now, this could have been for any reason that the Israelite men could chose this. Y'all got to read Tobit chapter 6 through 8 to understand. Now, I'm going to go to Tobit chapter 8 verse 19 and show you this further. So in the book of Tobit chapter 8 beginning at verse 19 it says, and he, talking about Tobit, kept the wedding feast 14 days. Now, y'all showed y'all the wedding feast extended multiple days, even weeks. We saw during the time of the first miracle of Yeshua turning the water to wine that this was the third day that he came to the marriage feast. We see Tobit keeping it for 14 days. The Most High saying, don't do away with this woman, even though you might have heard some stuff about her. Because you had some Israelite queens that was doing some stuff back then, just like you had Israelite men doing wickedness as well. So the Israelite man had an option to do away with his wife during that marriage ceremony. This was a high feast event, just like Passover, just like unleavened bread. But a lot of our people don't know this Judean custom. So during the time of Tobit, this lasted 14 days before they consummated fully the marriage, before it was official. He could do away with her during that time period. They were supposed to have sex or intercourse in the wedding chamber to create the seed of Israel according to that tribe. After that child she was separated during that time after she consummated. This was a part of the Judean custom. She was unclean for a certain amount of days. And when she gave birth, we know on the 8th day, they would have the marriage ceremony. All of this went together. Y'all understand? So the wedding ceremony, the consummation of the marriage, was a week-long, multiple-week event. Now, we see in the book of Tobit that it was 14 days. Let's read verse 19. Or verse 20. For before the days of marriage were finished, so the marriage was not finished, they had not fully come together. That's the ceremony. It's multiple days, y'all. Now, understand. Raphael had said unto him, Tobit, by another angel, that he should not depart till the 14 days of marriage were complete. This was the ceremony. So they were not finalized. Mary and Joseph had not finalized the ceremony. Now, in Judean custom, when a man was betrothed, this isn't different from the engagement of our Western mindset. He could go into the chambers of his wife. Now, the marriage was not complete. It was up to that Judean man to get a house for his bride, because you couldn't be no deadbeat. You had to show the father could go into the wedding chamber. I repeat, y'all read these scriptures. Read the book of Deuteronomy. Read chapter 22. Read Tobit, chapter 6 through 8. During this time period, he could go into the chamber of his engaged wife. But it was his responsibility before the marriage was finalized to prepare a place for his wife. So he had to go get his partners together, everybody, build a home. This is why Yahushua says, I go to prepare a place for you. But he had consummated his relationship with the church spiritually by giving his spirit to his people. That's why you know when the Greeks were writing the New Testament, they saw this spiritual element and they took it into a Greco-Roman mindset. Christ prepared a place for his people, has prepared a place for his people, even Zion by his blood, after consummating his relationship with his queen. Oh man, y'all got to take some notes. So Joseph had already gone into Mary. He had the right as being engaged. But the marriage ceremony was not finalized, family. This was not finalized. He was going to get the house for her. He was going to prepare a place for her, get the home for Mary. He was able to go in, but the ceremony of them coming together and fully officializing the expiration date of the marriage feast had not come to pass. Let's keep going. So family, we see in Tobit 8 verse 19 that it says that Tobit was 14 days. Now let's keep going. So family, now we're going to go to the New Testament, and I'm going to show you that this marriage ceremony was multiple days, even weeks. So in John chapter 2 verse 1 it says, and the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Yahushua was there. Y'all, we fly through this without paying attention. You got to slow down when you read these verses. There's a marriage ceremony going on. On the third day, Yahushua goes, right? During that time, we know the story. His mother says, whatever he tell y'all to do, y'all do it. Just know they ran out of wine, and they want more wine for the marriage feast. You already know Yahushua says, my time ain't come yet. But he goes ahead and he touches the brim of these basins they fill with water and turns the water into wine. We know that story. But I just went to this to show y'all the marriage feast was multiple days. So family, let's do a quick review. So I showed you guys that there was a marriage ceremony that lasted weeks before they are officially termed, before they're officially said to have come together. The marriage ceremony, the completion of these weeks, had to come to pass before it's finalized. That's why you might even see Daniel saying, before the fullness of weeks, or the fullness of the weeks. A lot of this goes into that marriage parable, just like Yahushua, who consummated his relationship with his people, breaking the curse and saying, I go to prepare a place for you. During this time, the Israelite man could do away with his wife. It was up to him to prepare a place for her to live, to show that to the father. During that time, he can go into the wedding chamber. He's loving on the people. This is a big, glorious feast. All of this is going on during that time period. So when you read in Matthew 1 that before they came together, understand this is a Greek writer portraying, well, before they got married, she was found with a baby. This is a Western mindset, saying, well, before they were married. No, the marriage had begun before it was finalized. They had consummated the relationship. This is consistent with Judean principles. Now, we finna go in with these precepts. Now that I done showed y'all that groundwork, now that I showed y'all that Solomon said no king has been born under any other circumstances, now that I showed y'all that any spirit that denies that Yahushua was fully man and fully the Most High Yah is the Antichrist spirit and agenda to destroy Zion mentally and spiritually. So I showed y'all that in 1 John. I showed you John 7:38 that says, he that believes on me, as the scriptures have said. We have gone through Tobit, we've gone through Deuteronomy 22, and we've gone through Judges 15 verse 1. You can read 2nd Ezra 10 verse 1 about the marriage ceremony. We got all that out the way, and we know that Leviticus 15:16 says that the seed of copulation is the sperm of man. We see Solomon in Wisdom of Solomon say that same thing. He said that I was made by my mama. I was a seed of my mama, compacted in blood. The seed of man. No king was born outside of that. So now we know that the Father said no king was born like that. So either the Bible's wrong or it's contradicting itself, or Christianity is lying. So we got Solomon. We got the customs of the Judeans. And y'all stay with me, family. We got Deuteronomy 22. We got the book of Tobit. In chapter 6 through 8. We got John in the New Testament talking about the third day of the marriage feast. Now let's see if Yahushua is the physical seed descendant of Joseph, who is a descendant of David. And we're going to go back to that Matthew chapter 1, and we're going to deal with it. So in that same Matthew, we're going to start at the first verse. We ain't going to just jump to 18. In verse 1 it says, the book of the generation of Yahushua HaMashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob, and Jacob begot Judah and his brethren. And Judah begot Pharez and Zara of Tamar, and Pharez begot Esrom, and Esrom begot Aram. I'm going to go through it, family, because our lineage is holy. We got to deal with it. And Aram begot Aminadab, and Aminadab begot Nasan. A lot of y'all skip these lineages. And Nasan begot Salmon, and Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed. Now this is in the book of not Esther, but the book of Ruth. But we see that Ruth and that whole Ephrathite family of Judea. We know that. Y'all read the book of Ruth. So in the book of Ruth, we read about Boaz, the kinsman redeemer of that plotted land and all that thing. Boaz begot Obed of Ruth, And Obed begot Jesse the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judea. And Jesse begot David the king, and David the king begot Solomon, and of her that had been the wife of Uriah. So the scriptures even tell y'all that iniquity was going on. Our people don't understand the faithfulness of our father to the children. Even though our people came through some messed up lineages, we know about Obed and Ruth and Boaz and a lot of kinsman redeemer stuff going on. We know about how David got Uriah killed on the front line to get his wife. And through that lineage, now the prophet Nathan prophesied death on that first child, but the second child is Solomon. Y'all, let's keep going. So we see that David begot Solomon of Bathsheba, who was the wife of Uriah. And Solomon begot Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begot Abiah, and Abiah begot Asa, and Asa begot Josepheth, and Josepheth begot Joram, Joram begot Uzziah, and Uzziah begot Jotham, and Jotham begot Achaz, begot Ezekias, and Ezekias begot Manasseh, Manasseh begot Amon, and Amon Josiah. Now y'all might have to skip a little bit down here. Okay, so in verse 16 it says, and Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, whom was born Yahushua, who is called the Messiah. So all generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations, and from David until when they were carried away in captivity in Babylon are 14 generations, and from when they were freed from Babylon until Yahushua is 14 generations. Y'all, this is a holy lineage. I already showed y'all Mary was related first cousin style to Elizabeth, the wife of the high priest. So we know they were Levites. The Levites were considered Judah, but not the tribe of Judah. Understand, the tribe of Judah, the providence of Judah, is Joseph's lineage. Joseph was a descendant of Bethlehem Ephratah of Judea. That's the lineage that the Bible is giving you of Yahushua. I already told y'all, the gospel of the Ebionites, the gospel of the Nazarenes, the gospel of the Essenes, they stop at verse 17. And these were the original followers of Yahushua. This gets into Peter or Kepha, Yahuchanan or John. This gets into Shaul or Paul. These early Israelites, the foundation of the church, the ancient Christian church, was different from the Council of Nicaea. Virgin birth and Christmas and Easter and all of that stuff came later during 300 AD. But before that time period, the early church believed in Yahushua as the descendant of Joseph, the son of Joseph. Let's keep going. Let's go into these precepts about Yahushua's lineage being a descendant of Joseph and why that is so important from freeing us. He had to be just like us to free us, or the price ain't been paid for our obedience. A human being had to pay the price, right? Or we're going to continue to suffer if we don't accept that Yahushua was just like us. He was that middleman. He did what we were supposed to do, to take the sacrifice, to take the death that the Most High required for our disobedience. Let's keep going. So, family, we're going to go through these precepts to prove that Yahushua was the son of Joseph. Let's start in Luke. So in Luke, family, chapter 2, verse 47, we read, and all that heard Yahushua were amazed at his understanding and the answers that he gave. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And they said, and his mother said unto him, Son, why have you dealt with us? His mother said, Son, why have you dealt like this with us? Behold, your father and I have sought thee with sorrowing. And he said unto them, How is it that you sought me? You knew I had to do my father's business. Now, y'all gotta look at this now. Now, that's a double entendre on Christ's part, because his father, we already know, is talking about the Most High. But he's also going into some messianic prophecies about the work that he had to complete as the descendant of David. So it's a double entendre, but check this out. So Mary says, me and your father have sought after you. Y'all understand? Mary calls Joseph the father of Yahushua. Not just Mary, but everybody knew. Let's go through this. Now in Luke chapter 3, verse 23, it reads, and Yahushua himself began to be around 30 years of age, as it was supposed, the son of Joseph, the son of Heli. Now y'all understand? Now the parentheses, as is supposed, understand whenever you see parentheses in the text, This is an insertion, and I know this is a lot for y'all to handle when I start nitpicking scriptures, going into the Greek manuscripts and says, well, this is not consistent with the earlier manuscripts. We have to do our due diligence, Zion. It can be a fearful task, but we got to deal with this stuff. So we see in Luke 2:23, we saw in Luke 2:48 where Mary calls Joseph his daddy. Luke 3:23 says that Yahushua is the son of Joseph. Let's keep going. Now, we already saw Matthew 1 says that that's the lineage that Christ was proved to be the son of David, the Messiah, son of Abraham. Let's go look at some more precepts. In Luke chapter, that same chapter, or the same book, Luke chapter 4, verse 22, it says, and all bear him witness and wondered at the gracious words that proceeded out of the mouth of Yahushua. And they said, ain't this Joseph's son? I'm telling y'all, the whole community knew that that was Joseph's boy. They said, ain't this Joseph's son? The carpenter's son that's doing all this great stuff? They would have known who his pedigree was during the marriage ceremony. It was a public event of the consummation of the marriage. They knew, they had the tokens and everything, that he was born under the law, under the sinful flesh image, just like us, to rise above and be perfect without sin in the life that he lived, thereby justifying the Most High, freeing us from the curse because he was just like us, born under the law, just like us, yet obedient to the Most High Father and everything he told him to do. Let's keep reading. In John chapter 1, verse 45, we're going to go through these scriptures. It says, Philip, finding Nathanael, and said unto him, we have found him, we have found him. These are the early disciples of Yahushua, saying, we have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Yahushua, the Nazarene, the son of Joseph. Y'all got to understand these things. Yahushua was the son of Joseph. Now I can go deeper into his lineage, but y'all ain't ready for that part. Yahushua was the son of Joseph. Everybody knew. They knew that Moses prophesied that. When did Moses prophesy that? Let's go to Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 18, it says, and I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren. Let's segue that back to Hebrews. In Hebrews 2:16 it says, for he took not the nature of angels, but of the seed of Abraham. Wherefore it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 8:18, or 18:18. I will raise a prophet from among their brethren, flesh and blood, just like Solomon, just like every other Israelite was born, like unto you, Moses, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them as I tell him to speak unto them. All praises be to the Most High Yah. So we see back in John 1:45, everybody knew he was that prophesied Mashiach that Moses, the prophets talked about, that came through a specific lineage. Joseph's going all the way back to David's, that David lineage that goes all the way back to Abraham. This was prophecy that this leader, this deliverer, had to come that way. The Most High had sworn an oath to David, and we're going to deal with it. So now let's go to John chapter 6, verse 42. And it says, and they said, is not this Yahushua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? Well, they already knew. They had the tokens of the virginity. I told y'all the marriage ceremony. Let's keep reading. How is it then that you say you come down from heaven? See, our people even then did not respect Yahushua because they knew his pedigree. I'm telling y'all, this is where white Jesus comes in. It has us crucify a Dr. King, kill Dr. King, kill Malcolm X, kill Fred Hampton. Our people never get it to come together, and thereby J. Edgar Hoover, the Council of Nicaea, COINTELPRO, the Mark of the Beast Christianity, they win. Because they get us to think that don't look within your people. Don't think among your brethren. I know this is heavy, y'all, but I gotta speak the words the Most High is telling me to speak to y'all. This was set up by design, a lack of distrust for the people. That's why we've never had a leader come since then to be able to unify the people, because we think that, oh, he gotta come glowing and immaculate. Yahushua, the Mashiach, y'all hear me, was born like other Israelites. From a spiritual perspective, he had to be, to redeem us and be an equal weight. An unjust scale, I'm going to tell y'all, is an abomination. The Most High, that's a heavy word. Y'all got to hear it. When the Most High says he detests that, that's like white people saying, we're going to give them $3,000 for reparations. That's an unjust scale when you look at the courtroom of heaven and the 400 years of oppression we've gone through. Whenever you deal falsely like that, that's an abomination to the Most High. So the sacrifice had to be the same as the atoning benefactor. They had to be equal. That's why Yahushua could not be an angelic Hercules figure, because we could always say he wasn't like us. The Most High knows that we can say he's not like us. No, he said, I'm going to make him just like y'all, but without sin. That means he's going to be given a choice just like y'all are given. Wait, what? That means we can do better by the spirit of Yahushua. Wait, what? Because a part of the Deuteronomy 28 curse was the Most High separating from us. That means the spiritual strength and fortitude to live right and to live Torah. There's a spiritual component of that thing. And when the Most High got tired of us for what we did and separated for a season, we lost that power that we had going back to the beginning. Yahushua come to regenerate. Yahushua came to regenerate that relationship, and the spirit he has justified us receiving that spirit, consummating that relationship to be able to return back to our former glory, return back to Torah, because he balanced the scales of the Most High, pacified the anger of the Most High for what we've done in his life, in his death, all of it. And chestnut checkers, he got that book everywhere because his life was so powerful. He wanted the Gentiles to create Christianity to get that book everywhere, chestnut checkers, so that when the diaspora, when we woke up to who we were, everybody got a King James. Y'all hear me? Let's keep going. So in John 6:42, we see that it said that, man, that isn't this not Yeshua or Yahushua, the son of Yosef, whose father and mother we know? Now let's go to another precept, John chapter 7, verse 42. Now this is John. John would have known more than anybody else. He was the inner circle of the apostles. I'm dealing with the first fruit. I'm dealing with the foundation of the early church. I'm skipping the entire Roman intervention, the entire Greek understanding, and I'm going back to the people that handled him, that dealt with him, that touched the body of Yahushua. They know who he was. They knew he was of the son of Joseph. And we're going to look at John. John chapter 7, verse 42, it says, did not the scripture say that Yahushua HaMashiach comes of the seed of David, out of the town of Bethlehem where David was? So the people, because of him, a lot of people was divided on that thing even back then, because the scriptures did say that he had to come through that lineage. Now even some of them was thinking that it was going to be some glorious event, but they said the scriptures clearly teach he had to be a physical descendant of David through that lineage, through Joseph, to be able to redeem the people. Even coming out of Bethlehem had to happen strategically. This was a stumbling block then, and it's a stumbling block now. This is where you see whenever our people were divided, white folks came in and they sided with the Immaculate Conception. Y'all got to see this. Let's keep going. So family, we see in Acts chapter 2, verse 30, it says, therefore, this is Peter talking. No, we're going to go back to verse 29. Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his grave is with us to this day. So Peter's saying, we already know that David is dead. So when David in Psalm 16 was saying he has not suffered his Holy One to see corruption, what was he talking about? Because we know David was dead. We know we got the grave right here. Let's keep reading. Verse 30, it says, therefore being a prophet, and knowing that the Most High Yah had sworn with an oath to him, that of the fruit of his loins, the fruit, the seed of copulation in Leviticus 15:16. This is talking about the sperm. The sperm is only given by the patriarchs. Only men produce the sperm. For him to be the sperm of David, he had to descend. This is why the Y chromosome does not mix in meiosis. Y'all got to hear what I'm saying. The Y chromosome doesn't even engage in the swapping process that our X's do to create genetic diversity. The Y is passed directly because it's only one of them. So it does not mix because the mother doesn't even have a Y. It goes straight from father to son, father to son. That's the power of the Most High Yah. That's why I teach about E1B1A, but that's a whole nother thing. So the paternal seed or fruit is the sperm. Yahusha had to be a human David sperm. Let's look at it. Acts 2:30. Therefore, being a prophet and knowing that the Most High swore, y'all don't know how serious the Most High is. He said an unjust scale is an abomination. He said, I swore to David that of his sperm I'm going to raise up the Messiah. Now, so how can the Messiah, the Savior, come out of a lineage? He said, David, you pleased me so well. I can use your body, flaws and all, to create perfection in the earth. This is why our people need to rally behind this thing. That Yahushua is the son of yourself. That's hope for Israel. That means the Most High is going to use his people. That he has not forgotten about Zion. That even in our cursed state, the Most High said, I'll resurrect that thing. And that's what he did in David's sperm, in his testicle. He raised up Mashiach through the sperm of a man. Let's keep reading, y'all. He seen this before, spoke of the resurrection of Hamashiach, that his soul was not left in hell, neither did his flesh see corruption. All praises to the Most High Yah. So we see that Peter is saying that the Most High swore to David that of his sperm he was going to raise up the Mashiach. That's Peter. We saw John say it in John 1:45, John 6:42, John 7:42. Now we see Peter saying it in Acts 2:30. We're going to see in Acts 13 the same thing. In Acts. No. Wait. Before I go to Acts, let's deal with that promise that the Most High made to David. Let's go back to 2 Samuel. In 2 Samuel chapter 7, let's start at verse 11. And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused them to rest from their enemies. Also, the Most High Yah tells you that he will make you a house, David. Now, y'all gotta understand, there's a lot going on in that context. David wants to build a temple for the Most High. He said, I want a glorious building that symbolizes your presence with your people. The prophet tells David that that's a beautiful thing, David, but you're not gonna do it. Because you shed so much blood fighting off the enemies of the Most High Yah, I'm gonna let your son inherit that task. But understand, the Most High is so impressed with you remembering him after he delivered y'all that he's going to make you a tabernacle. That's why the New Testament says that we're the housing flesh of the Most High. We're the children of the Most High. Y'all understand that his spirit dwells in our tabernacles. So he says that David, I'm going to make you a tabernacle. I'm going to make your body a perpetual lineage that through your seed is going to come a son that I'm going to love. Let's read it. So he says, in verse 13, he shall build an house for my name, talking about Solomon, and I will establish your throne, the throne of his kingdom forever, and I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chastise him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. There's a lot in this. A lot of scholars say this is talking about Solomon. And to a first degree it is. That Solomon was that seed that was to come through David's lineage and build the temple. This is a spiritual prophecy of the descendant of Solomon, who we saw in Matthew 1, is Joseph, who is Yahusha's father. Let's go to another precept. In Acts 13:23, it says, of this man's seed, talking about David. Let's go back to 22. He said, and when he had removed Saul, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom he gave testimony and said, I have found David the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He shall fulfill all my will. Of this man's seed hath the Most High, according to a promise, raised unto Israel as Savior. Y'all, it's so clear. I showed you Acts 13:23, Acts 2:30. I showed you John 1:45, John 6:42, John 7:42, Peter in Acts 2:30, the oath that was sworn to David in 2 Samuel 7. When you look at the Bible, y'all, the Bible teaches he was the descendant of Joseph. He was the descendant of Joseph. You guys are misinterpolating Matthew 1:18. And family, y'all got to stay with me with this thing. That one verse, which you can easily say is a misinterpolation. I showed you guys the customs of the Judean time period. We can see how that has been a fabrication, not based on a precept, not based on line upon line, not based on the entirety of the witnesses of the scriptures, y'all. So let's go further. In Romans chapter 1, verse 3, concerning his son Yahusha, the Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh, verse 4, and declared to be the Son of the Most High Elohim with power according to the Spirit of holiness by the resurrection from the dead. Y'all hear this thing? Paul said, I'm going to make it clear. Yahushua, the Son of the Most High Yah, Hamashiach, our Lord, was made of the seed of David, the sperm, according to the flesh. There is one way he could be made the seed according to the flesh. It's intercourse of Joseph and Mary. Joseph being a descendant of David, Mary being a Levitical descendant. They came together, Judah coming together, because she was southern kingdom as well. They coming together, consummating the marriage and creating Yahushua according to the sperm, the seed of David according to the flesh. Not just that, y'all. Let's go to another precept. Now, in Isaiah 11, verse 1, it says, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse. This is talking about a branch, an offshoot, a descendant of Jesse, the Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Ephratah, Judea. And a branch shall grow out of his roots. Now, y'all, let's deal with this. So it was prophesied in Isaiah that a branch, an offshoot of the root. Your roots is your ancestry. This is where we know your roots from. And a people without knowledge of who they are is a tree without roots. Marcus Garvey. Your roots is your ancestors. So there shall come forth the Messiah as a branch out of Jesse, a descendant of Jesse, who is a descendant of Obed, who is a descendant of Boaz and Ruth, right? We read that in the book of Ruth. And a branch shall go forth out of these roots, talking about the Messiah. How do we know this? In Revelation, the last book of the Bible, it says, in chapter 22, verse 16, it says, the last chapter of the Bible, I, Yahushua, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bride and the morning star. Y'all, Yahushua says, I am this lineage. I am my forefathers. I am a descendant of my forefathers. I am, because we are. This is an African, Judean, Hebraic mindset. Because that's why he says, I'm the root. I am my forefathers. I am those that came before me, and I am the offspring of those that came before me. He's saying he is the seed of David, the descendant of Joseph. So y'all, this could go on for eternity, but I'm going to leave you guys with this. This is a series now. We're going to be breaking this thing down. I'm going to go deeper into Matthew chapter 1. I didn't even get a chance to go into Isaiah 7:14 and show you that word virgin in the Hebrew is a young maiden. You can Google that on Webster's, but I'm going to go through that. I'm going to break down those terms, go back into Belchula and Alma, go back into the Ebionites and the works of Jerome that talks about the Gospel of Matthew that was written in Hebrew before this Greek manuscript. I'm going to get into the Syriac, Sinaiticus, a lot of these ancient manuscripts that go back to Alexandria, Egypt, the African, Hebraic, Judean early church of these Negro Israelites that had already been living deeper in the continent as well as Northeast Africa and Israel. Their doctrine, like the Ethiopian church, the African Christianity that predates Roman Catholicism, did not subscribe to the virgin birth. So y'all, we gonna go into this thing, and y'all, I just pray y'all just stay with me, because I'm gonna present all these facts, all these precepts, and all this history to nail this home, because I know this is a stumbling block created by white supremacy to do away with Israel, to replace Israel with the church, to tell Israel that, okay, well, Christ is white. Well, no, he was a Judean. Okay, so he's black, but he was the Son of the Most High. He was immaculate. So that still doesn't make y'all rally behind some national message. He was a spiritual entity that reconciled all of humanity. So white Jesus, the virgin birth, replaces Israel with the church, tells them that he was different from y'all, so don't turn back to your commandments. Please don't, because that might break the curse. All of this is the mark of the beast, Christianity, white Jesus living in the bodies that is the minds, like, get out of y'all's people. Y'all hear what I'm saying? All of this is the westernized, Romanized, Edomite, last ruling empire that came to use the false prophet that looks like a lamb, that speaks like a dragon, that deceives the whole humanity by lying signs and wonders. Y'all hear me? The great falling away, the great delusion that shifted the early Hebraic church. Paul saw this coming. He said, it's working already. He lived in Rome. He knew that there was something being created, this Romanized version that was going to try to say that Christ didn't come in the flesh, that was trying to say that Israel is done away with, the great red dragon that comes against the woman. We going to deal with it on Zion Dynasty, family. So I just pray that y'all have patience and understand and take you some notes. Ask questions in the comments. And I love you all with the love of the Messiah. Peace, love, blessings, and Israelite power to every king and queen. I love y'all. I do this labor of love because I want y'all to get this, right? So I love y'all. Y'all be blessed. In the name of our Father, Yahweh, and his son Yahweh Shai, even Yahusha, y'all be blessed, empowered. I love you all with the love of the Messiah. Shalom. All praises.
Street beats bangers.
I have searched far and wide, high and low, but there is no one like you. I've tried on my own. Now I know that there is no one like you. I have searched far and wide, high and low, but there is no one like you. I've tried on my own. Now I know that there is no one like you. Seems like I spent this whole life of mine searching and searching, trying to find something that you had already supplied to me. I was blind, but now I see. But now that I know better, I'm gonna be better. Putting my trust in you, no matter the weather. Look to the hills, who's coming my help. I know that I cannot do it by myself. I'm so alone. Sometimes I feel like all hope was gone. Then I remember, put my trust in man, it ain't never worked. That's why I put you first. I have searched far and wide, high and low, but there is like you. I've tried on my own. Now I know that there is no one like you. I have searched far and wide, high and low, but there is no one like you. I've tried on my own. Now I know that there is no one like you. Now to the King, eternal, immortal, invisible, the only wise God, be honor and glory forever and ever and ever. You're Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, provider and counselor, you're my best friend. Look to the hills, who's coming my help. Know that I cannot do it by myself. I was so alone. Sometimes I felt like all hope was gone. Then I remembered, put my trust in man, it ain't never worked. That's why I put you first. Searched all over.
I went into the hole. Only reason I got student loan, I dropped out of school. Only reason I even got a student loan, messed around, feet in the hood, and then got that old big club and flipped it and did all this crazy stuff. A lot of pastors put bread up when it comes to the church and money. But then another thing is when pastors come and the church, let's say, like the other guy down in Georgia, church was 300. 20 years, he grew it to almost 30,000. He's an asset. He came and he did something. People would feel that he should get paid.
And, that's a whole different thing. But the average church have less than 200 people. The average church that we see in our neighborhoods have less than 200 people. Now, I've been involved in church. I've worked for churches. They had a budget of million and change, 2 million, 1.7, 1.3, and all of that other stuff. That's 5, 6, 7, 100 people. But a lot of churches don't do those numbers. Now, are there those that's far exceeding that? Absolutely so. But when it comes down to the average church, a lot of people are out here talking about the church and how much money the church is making and what the church should do, and that's a big topic in our community about the church, because I guess they bring in more income, some would argue, than any other institution in African American communities. Some people would feel. And some individuals have concerns with that. But the majority of people, even in church, what people don't understand is if you see, I would have sometimes, especially certain times of the month, that knew we were involved in. I had the heavy food thing going on. When folk, the beginning of the month, you don't see a whole bunch of people. But boy, when them folk food stamps and all that run out, and they done spent all their money on everything else, the line wrapped around the corner. And this is how it is with a lot of church people, but the majority of people don't give. Sometimes we're on here live, we got 100, 150 people. The majority of people don't give. It's always a small amount of people that give or sow or tithe or whatever these terms these people use out here, and it's always in the minority. So you see a church with 200 people, which y'all might got 40 people. I'll be shocked if 40 people are consistent givers. It's always a small amount that's really carrying the whole work, to be honest. A lot of people there praying and volunteers, and the church, we really deal with a lot of volunteers, but there's the majority of people that really carry the work and finance the work and really down for the work and all of that stuff. It's not really a lot. And I think a lot of people make complaints about the church, and they start talking about the church. They never been behind the scenes. They never been to a business meeting. They never been in the office. They don't know what's what. They just running their mouth. They see drums. They see a keyboard. They see people coming in there. They just running their mouth. I often tell people they never get into them funerals, especially in the hood. Somebody always getting shot. They always need the church building. They always need the preacher. The preacher got to get up, got to go to Rikers Island. Preacher got to come visit y'all in the hospital when your nephew got shot. He don't do nothing for the church. He don't come into church. But we got to go down there because grandma's faithful. So the preacher got to get out of his bed and start doing some stuff. A few people got some deacons and some other people by their sides, but some pastors will get burned out real quick, mess around with folk in the hood, because the needs in the hood are great. This is just what it is. But let me continue to play this right here, and then we're gonna get into the subject. I want to show you another lady, another person. And when I use the term witch, I don't even want nobody to start emailing me. I already know how y'all feel. I know y'all love them witches. I know what it is right now. I know a lot of y'all are witches and warlocks, and y'all are involved in the esoteric and the occult. I understand. I don't have beef. Don't email me and be mad at me, but I'm going to show you some stuff. Let's keep playing.
I need to start asking the church, where is your money going?
Well, Mr. Ryan, I'm so glad you asked. So for today's lesson, let's do some basic math facts, shall we? The average church only brings in about $300,000 a year. With that $300,000 a year, all operational costs must be met. Lights, water, cleaning, insurance, cleaning people, toiletries, paper, printer, ink, grounds upkeep. The list goes on. And that's before we even get to paying mortgages, interest on said mortgages, and sometimes second mortgages, depending on the financial history of the church. Oh, did we forget to pay the pastor, who probably has an undergrad, graduate, or sometimes even a doctoral degree in order to be efficient and proficient at their job? Let's talk about the other staff in musicians, student leaders, custodians, and the like. So where is your tithes and offering going? It's going to running your local church.
All right, let me stop that right there. Look at this right here. Let me read this right here to everybody. She said, my mom is 83 years old and been at the church for 52 plus years. Don't you know they, excuse me, called her and told her if she don't pay tithes, she's out the church. Christianity, I tell you, I've heard of churches, you know, if you membership asking for one or two, maybe two churches in my whole life for your W-2s and all things of that nature. That, I don't know, 52 years in the church. Once you're usually 52 years in the church, and you're a mother in the church, usually almost every church that I know take care of you till you die. Sending deacons, old churches just call them the deaconess to the nursing home, even if you couldn't make it in. When the children don't even go to the nursing home, the church deacons and stuff would go and support and have communion with individuals. Why? Because we see that in the scripture. What we were talking about the other day with the other brother, we were going in talking about Acts the 6th chapter, that the church take care of the widows, and that's important. Those that are older, especially once they done served the church, they done been in the church for years. That's the kind of thing that the church would normally do. We take special interest in the very, very young, and the children. A lot of us will do a lot with Sunday school and stuff because we think the next generation is important. And the elderly. One of the problems that we have right now is that people don't have even grandmamas that's in the church. So we got a generation that's out there on demon time because they don't even have praying grandmas. Some of us in here right now because we had some praying grandmoms and parents and uncles and stuff. I don't care if you done been through foster this and that, you ran into somebody and they've prayed for you. And that's the reason that some of us have a understanding of God right now, because we've been trained. Rick says train up a child, but we got some folk that's not doing that right now. We take the elderly very serious in the church, and younger people. We attempt to do that, and it's a shame if a church is, just want to discard the elderly because they can't do anymore. I remember when I seem like I'm always, like right now, for my age, I deal with a lot of younger people. And even when I was pastoring and stuff, I would deal with a lot of younger people. And I'm going to tell you what the pastor told me. Pastor told me, listen, you running in there just dressing down and all of this stuff, you got to cater to the old saints. The old saints is the one with money. These young folk don't give you no money. Young folk don't drop no money in that plate. That's your problem right now. You us want to help you and this and that and all of this other stuff. And it's so crazy because so many people feel that. They said they feel that the older middle-aged, the older saints are the ones that really help. The young folk got all the complaint. They got all the needs, and the older ones just listen. They got their little money wrapped up in the tissue. They put it in an envelope and they just go ahead and give it to the church and bless the church. But no, you want to cater to them young folk and get the answering questions and being all on the street. Them folk ain't thinking about nothing but just wearing you out. Said the old folk don't run you like these young folk run you. Plus, they ain't giving them out. Like, Lord, it's rough out here. But at the same time, I have long saw that there was a need for some conversations. Recently, there was a pastor, and the pastor was saying something. He said that the church has to prepare or has to have some safe places for people to talk. We're living in a dangerous time. He did admit that this is spiritual warfare, and we have to admit that spiritual warfare is real. A lot of what people are going through right now, the war that they're going through in their mind, the questions that they have, it's on a different level, and it's largely because of social media. Social media has been a blessing, but at the same time, I tell you today that social media is a curse also. And the thing that hurts me, I've been telling pastors, I've been telling people in the church for years that it's just not crazy street folk. It's just not crazy street folk. There's some guys that read and they don't have the Spirit of God, so they're at war with certain things, especially when it comes to the church, with slavery, when it comes to the black church, with money. They're at war. And we have to understand where this warfare is coming from. And we got to understand that there's people out here that have genuine questions. If you're a thinking person and you've ever read your Bible, you should have genuine questions concerning the faith. But why did this God wrestle with an angel all night and then he touched his thigh and wait a minute, and Satan came to Eve and he asked her, but God was there, that they were naked. Any thinking person. Ain't nothing wrong with thinking. I get scared when some folk act like this book is beyond. You can't think. You can think with everything else. You can think about driving down the street. If you're going to stop at that red light, you can think about everything else, the doctor, the school, where you're going to move, the mortgage, interest rate on this new car. You can think about everything else, but certain stuff people want to they just want to put their brains down. So people do have questions, and we have to create spaces where we can come and we can have dialogue on certain things, especially with what I would call the smorgasbord of spirituality. People out here, when people start talking about their woke, automatically you know that they're dealing with some knowledge that they have come into. That's all wokeness is. Honestly, good to see you, sister. I gave him the information. So when it comes down to it, we gotta be thinking, and we have to understand how we're gonna process this wokeness and this spirituality in the time that we're living in. And this ain't just regular. We can't just throw people to the side. I'm not quick to just throw everybody to the side. Oh, they would never end the faith. They would never end the truth, because we got pastors, we got bishops, we got all type of ministers that's walking away from the faith. Not just walking in, not just walking away from the faith. Thank you, Dunamis. Not just walking away from the, matter of fact, Dunamis, I'll put that link out there for you. Not just walking away from the faith.